It's the final day of April 2026 and I'm just approaching Beaulieu for another visit. It's been a few months since I've been here. Stan and his team are under some pretty serious pressure. They're on the home stretch with the Sunbeam, but they have a deadline. They have a deadline of about 6 weeks from now. In about 6 weeks from now, the car is due to be on a boat on the way to America. It's heading for Pebble Beach Concours in August, I believe. Then it will be shown at the Peterson Museum in California. And then a little under a year from now, on the 27th of March 2027, which is the anniversary of Segrave's record in the car, it will be at Daytona. So they're running under some pretty serious time pressures. They've had some extraordinary challenges with the second engine that they're rebuilding. I've spoken to Stan on the phone. He's talked to me a little bit about this, but it sounds like they've had their work cut out with the second engine. The first engine wasn't easy, but it went together reasonably well. The second engine has proved to be something of a challenge. So we'll have a chat to Stan today. We'll see where the team have got to. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how things are panning out. Right, Stan, here we are, last day of April, the race to the finish of the Sunbeam project. I think it's fair to say. The deadline's a little bit, coming up a bit quicker than you were anticipating, is that right?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it's now end of June as opposed to January 2027. So we've got a lot to do in the next 6-7 weeks to get the car ready before it's containerized and sent off to Pebble Beach in California.
Has the second engine presented different problems to the first engine?
Yes, I mean, we knew we were going to have different problems because the engine is slightly different to the rear engine. It runs in a different rotation to the rear engine, but we also knew that the blocks, the cylinder blocks on this engine had suffered some frost damage in its past, but we didn't know the extent of the damage until we'd stripped it right out, and it became more of a problem than we thought it was going to be. So we've had to do a lot of welding to all four blocks, both TIG welding and laser welding, to get them into a condition where they're usable. And not just the welding, we've also had corrosion issues within the bores where we've had to source new liners and have new liners fitted to the blocks as well. So, but not all of them, just some of them. But that all takes time. We were very lucky with the people that we used. They dropped everything again and helped us out because of our deadline. Reed Performance and OCS welding company have done a huge amount of work for us, and Saunders Motorworks have managed to do the liners for us. I mean, it took me a while to find some liners that were adaptable because obviously the liners don't exist, so we've had to get a liner that's close to it, adapt it and then fit it, and they've done us proud as well to get it to the position where we are now, where we've got all four blocks on the crankcase.
Give us a little tour of the engine as it is now, and tell us a little bit about the challenges you face in restoring this.
Okay, well, it's in a stand at the moment. It's not actually at the correct angle, it's 45 degrees at the moment. So it enables us to put the blocks on. You can crane them on vertically onto the pistons, because if you're trying to do it when it's at 60 degrees, it becomes a real problem trying to hold all the pistons in the right place and get all the rings into the bores. So it's much easier this way. I say easier, it still takes 4 people with lots of fingers to get the blocks onto the pistons. But that's now done, we've got it on. So all the valves are in the blocks. So we're in a position where we're now getting ready to fit the camshafts, so that we can true the camshaft up to make sure it runs and meshes with the timing gears properly. This is the timing gear end, so we start off with a crankshaft with a gear on there which drives the next gear and the next gear and the next gear and the next gear all the way up to the camshafts at the top. So this is part of the front housing, which is I'm just about to put on now, and the bearings that are in here are actually for the magneto drives, but all the main gears come up through the middle up to the two at the end where the camshafts are, and those gears are already on the camshafts, and obviously we have to get them all in the right position. Sunbeam never marked any of the gears, so you have to go back to basics, you know, valve timing, valve overlap, get all that in. When we took it apart, we marked it, so it's just easier to put it back on quicker.
And why so many gears and not timing chains?
Timing chains weren't in fashion in that period. We're talking about 1918 here. Timing belts certainly weren't in fashion. So it was all done with gears. Everything was done with gears because it's reliable, so long as they're supported properly and the materials are good quality materials, and it works perfectly all right. I mean, the RPM of this engine is quite slow. It's only 2000 RPM flat out, so the gears aren't turning that fast, and it's a good reliable method of doing it with gearing rather than chains.
And in attempting a land speed record, the formula is you go as fast as you can in one direction through a measured mile.
Yep.
And then you turn the car around and you've got to run back within an hour.
Yeah.
So what measures have they put in place to try and expedite the turnaround?
For the pit stop, if you like, they want to change all the wheels and tyres as quickly as possible. So it's got inbuilt jacks on the car, and this big worm gear here is a jack, and you can wind that down, lift the front of the car up, one on each corner, take the wheels off, put new wheels and tyres on it, send it back. But because it's built onto the car, there's a little safety measure being built into it. You see this little button at the top here? What that does is there's a rod that runs right through the jack, and there's a little location peg on the side of the jack here, so that when you wind it up, it locates on this casting here. So again, with vibration, it doesn't wind itself down while you're doing 200 miles an hour down the beach. Might be a bit messy. So wind it up, locates in position, put the pole on, pushes the plunger, you can wind it down again. And that's on every corner.
Very clever, very clever.
And this is the little jack handle.
It's not little, is it?
So that sits on there, and then you put a T-bar through the top of there.
Okay, so that goes down through the bodywork of the car.
Through the body, yeah. There's a hole in the bodywork, locates it, sits on the top of the jack, wind it down and wind it up again.
Tell me a little bit about how they went about changing the wheels. And first of all, where's the wire wheel gone?
Right, well, the wire wheel is actually behind this wheel disc. We've seen many images of the car with these wheel discs on it. We've never had the wheel discs ever since we've had the car, and I can only assume that they were made when it was in America, because there's no pictures of it in England with any wheel discs on it. It had a big wheel spat with a teardrop embossing on it when it left England, but they dispensed with them in America, and I think they've come up with these wheel discs there, and they're basically a spun aluminium disc which fits on the hub, and then is held on with 4 little clips which clips on around the spokes of the wheel. So the spokes are actually behind there. So we've reproduced them to make the car look right for period. If you want to take the wheel off, it's very much the same as any other car of the period, like the Rolls Royces and Bentleys and things like that. And you use a spanner, as you can see it's Dunlop, which fits onto the hub It's got two little clips that locate on a groove. That then holds it onto the nut, but it's got a safety device in the middle, and you have to wind this little lever in here, which releases that little mechanism there, which locks it into position. So now you can knock the wheel span around with a copper hide hammer, anti-clockwise to undo it, clockwise to do it up, and that winds it onto the hub. And once you've got it in position, you release that. That then locks it back into position, so it's safe. It's not going to come undone again. So very clever, but it's of the period. You look at most Rolls Royces of the period and Bentleys, they've all got the same type of locking device. Well, the seat is the original seat, but it's not the original trim. We've never had the original trim. Ever since we've had the car, it's had just a seat cushion and a plain back rest. But all the images we've seen of period, it had a fluted back. So we've recreated that. The vinyl that we had was beyond preservation anyway. So now we've trimmed it back in leather as it would have been in period, and the right colour as well. So it's now a pleated back with a cushion in leather rather than vinyl.
Let's talk a little bit about health and safety. Let's disregard health and safety. Let's talk about Segrave's position in the car and what was surrounding him while he was setting this record.
Well, it's quite a snug fit to be amongst all this machinery. You've got the two V12 engines, you've got the gearbox, the spur gearbox, the bevel drive, and you've got the prop shaft that runs from the rear engine into the bevel drive box, and right next to the driver's seat. In fact, it actually rubs the driver's seat as it's rotating. And the output shaft from the bevel drive, you see there's a coupling down here, that's touching the bottom of the driving seat, so it can't get any lower than it is at the moment. So you've just got to pack it so it just clears the shafts, because you don't want to be going down the beach at 200 mile an hour with that lot rubbing the seat away while you're sat in there. It's very tight to sit in there between all the machinery and the steering wheel and the pedals. It's not a comfortable seating position at all. Yeah,
but he's only going to sit in it for a few minutes, so yeah. So I think it would be fair to say you're one of very, very few people who've driven this car. You have driven it a little just to move it around.
Yeah, I've driven it for about 100 yards.
Okay. While you're sitting in Segrave's seat, in the middle of all that, with only one engine running, are you aware of the proximity of the mechanics?
Yeah, you can feel everything, literally, through the seat. You know, it is rubbing everything. It's a bit disconcerting, to say the least.
So on a road car, a prop shaft is running, it's geared down before it rotates. Yeah. The prop shaft in this car is running at engine speed.
It is, yeah. It's directly off the end of the crankshaft, and that's maximum of 2,000 RPM. Okay. So,
but it's fast enough when it's close to your left elbow.
Well, yeah, you don't want to get anything wrapped round it. It's not going to do you any good. So you keep well away from it. There's no guards or anything. But then you're only sat there holding onto the steering wheel. Your left hand operates the gear lever, and that's it.
So we're approximately 6 weeks away from the end of the project, give or take. Once you've got the second engine in the car and you're going to start it all up, obviously try it out, are you going to drive it before it goes into the container, do you think? Segrave famously drove the car for all of 200 yards.
Yeah, that's probably about the amount of distance I'm going to get, because there's no room here to drive it. And with time scales as they are, I would have liked to have taken it to an airfield somewhere so we could drive it and settle everything down, but I can't see that happening. So it'll be Daytona Beach, I think.
That's all right. That's history repeating, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Well, Stan and the team did it. 6 weeks later, the front engine had been completed and fitted back in the car. I was invited back to Beaulieu to witness the start-up of both V12 engines together for the first time in over 90 years. I've already posted a video of this momentous occasion. To be honest, I just couldn't wait to share it. So if you hadn't seen and heard the startup yet, check out the link at the end of this video. You won't be disappointed. In the next and final part of this series, I return to Beaulieu on a scorching hot day in late June as the Sunbeam leaves for the US. Spoiler alert, they finished the car. See you next time.